Good morning. So I just thought I'd put together a video of things we've been working on and where we're at right now. Hi, girl. So far I've just brought her in, brushed her off, and picked her feet. That's about all I've done with her this morning. We'll just get her tacked up here, and obviously I'm working her in a Western saddle. I tend to start all of them in a Western saddle, mainly just because I like to, sometimes attach things to the saddle or pull things or have things dragging from the saddle. It makes it easier just to kind of introduce the mounting, getting up and down in this Western without doing a whole bunch of extra pulling and twisting on the English saddles. And then if it kind of gets covered in arena sand and stuff from if I'm long lining or whatever I'm doing, I really don't mind. Save my dressage saddles for a little bit more of the ridden stuff. So she's working in a bridle as well, wearing the bridle. Typically what I do is I put the bridle on fairly early in the training, but we're not really working off of the bridle or off the bit for quite a while. It just gives them something to kind of get used to wearing and feeling with their mouth and playing with the bit, and before we go to any real kind of working specifically off the bit. So just work off the halter. Hey. I don't know if she has seen cows much before, but there's the field right beside us is one of my family's cattle pastures, and they turned the cows out there just the other day. So there are cows around just right out here that if she has seen cows before, she's fairly stressed by these particular cows. So she just saw them this morning, so she might be a little bit edgier than other times, but that's just part of life. Something to kind of get used to and see. Yep, come on. Open up. There we go, good girl. Yeah, good. That's it. I'll give her a second here just to kind of come a little bit into us and relax here a little bit. That's it. Good girl. And so when I hook the long lines, I'm not long lining her at the moment, but I have. When I hook the reins or whatever, I hook it to the halter here. So she's used to working off the halter, but if when I hook the reins up, then it's kind of working indirectly on the bit, but not directly to it. So we'll just slowly graduate to the bit as we go. Good girl, good. And so I'll just let her move around here for a second just to see how she seems. I don't do a lot of lunging. You can see she's kind of staring out over there where the cows are making some noise, and I don't do a lot of lunging typically with any of the horses that I work with. Through the groundwork and the stuff that I do, they lunge just as a result of that. But she's a pretty quick thinking horse. She's a quick moving horse with her feet. So a lot of what I'm working on is just helping her kind of really slow things down, find a little softness in the body, a little more quietness in her mind, and just kind of connect the exercises that we're doing to how that makes her feel. And then she starts to find a little different feeling in her body when she moves a little bit differently, starts to find a little bit more relaxation and softness and connection, and really starts to get an understanding of how she's moving her body, how that makes her feel, and then starting to look for that a little bit more on her own. Good girl. And then to help her, of course, as she's working that way, to really start to develop the muscles that we're looking for the ridden part, develop the top line a little bit better, develop the balance, and start to just get an understanding of how to move a little bit more efficiently and a little bit more effectively that promotes a little bit more softness, a little bit more quiet way of going, so she works through her body a little bit more and not just kind of tight and blocked in the body. Good girl. Good. I use quite a few verbal cues. You'll notice I shush to back them up. I find the backup is a very, very valuable thing to know, provided that it's done well and not just being, you know, kind of pulled backwards by their teeth, you see so often. So I shush to back up. I will cluck to move the shoulders or the front end. You know, so for now it's just kind of getting the idea of moving the shoulders over, left or right. And then eventually it's another indication and another way to help them elevate the shoulders and lift the front end as we start into a little bit more of that kind of work. Yes, good. And just kind of starting to expose, you know, one thing that I really like to do is expose them to as much as I can, different sounds and movements, touches and approaches of things, and not using these in a way of the typical kind of old school, you know, sacking them out till they stop moving kind of thing, but more in a way that they start to realize how they can manage themselves a little bit more in situations that are a little bit troubling and bothersome to them, how they can start to think through these moments without being overly reactive or getting overly tight, just using the movement of her body to start helping her associate a little bit more softness and throughness and opening of the body, opening of the rib cage. So that promotes a little bit deeper breathing and a little bit more relaxation. Girl. And not really using any of them to the point of yeah, good for you. Good. Sometimes because of her, you know, she's got a fairly active mind, she's kind of into, sometimes just standing still for a moment is difficult. Nothing that is bad at all, of course. It's just her. So we can just kind of help her find a little bit more connection to herself, connect her body to her brain, to her feet. Good girl. And let her just really kind of feel where she wants to let down and stretch a little bit, push the nose out and the neck down. Good girl. And just have, you know, see how she's able to manage herself when there's different things going on in the environment that might be a bit troubling. So she can find this within herself to kind of get a little bit amped up, something that's going on, some noise, some sights, some touches, some sounds, whatever it is, some approaches. Shh. Yeah, good for you. And if she can start to figure out how to, when things start to bother her, she gets that feeling in her body, she feels that tension coming in, and she finds a way to control the situation a little bit more without us having to constantly be micromanaging. Super, good girl. And just kind of building in a little bit of depth of understanding, you know, trying to work a little bit towards, good. Helping with the courage and the ability to help themselves through these situations a little bit more. But also giving them the understanding and knowledge that when things become too much for them, that we're there to help guide them through. It's not really, I'm not really interested in the, you know, micromanaging and kind of hovering over them and trying to fix every little single thing that upsets them. But at the same time, I don't really want to throw her into the deep end of the pool and say sink or swim, right? It's a little bit like everything else. Good girl. usually the middle ground is where the most effective things are. Good for you. Yeah. And then, of course, obviously, side to side is a little bit different. Good. And these, you know, using these tools and things like this isn't something that I do every single day, because then it just kind of becomes part of the routine, and there isn't really any, sometimes you lose the value to it when they just know, you know, what we're going to do every single time is the same. So it's been a few days since I've done anything with them. Yeah, good. Good for you, good. And just trying to use, in something like this case here, I don't want her to feel like I'm chasing her with the whip, but the energy comes up in the area, the sound, the slapping, and the air gets a little bit more charged. And in the beginning, this can be pretty difficult for them to understand. Really like there where she's just kind of licking and chewing and relaxing. So we'd like for that these aids, these situations, that instead of reacting and getting tense and really tight and worried and stressed, that a lot of these difficult moments have a little bit of a relaxing effect. And they start to look for that. They start to see in a new area there's something that concerns them, something that bothers them, but instead of running from it, they get curious and they want to go to it, and they want to explore it and move it away and control it if they can. And then you really start to get to where they're starting to really understand how to manage these situations more and more. And rely on us less and less to control every single thing in the environment. And that's not to say that when you're out somewhere, there's going to be something that pops up and really surprises them. Surprises are just a part of life sometimes, you know. You get startled and scared, but how you recover from that is really important, and that's kind of what I spend a lot of time in the beginning trying to build into them, is how they can recover from those moments that really stress them and bother them, as opposed to just continuing to spiral. Good girl. So going back to what I was talking about at the start, where she's a little bit, you know, concerned about the cows out there and just a little bit on edge, to take in and kind of lunge the edge off of her, for horses like her, isn't really that beneficial. You tend to sometimes just wind the spring a little tighter when she's just going around on a circle. And if you're kind of thinking, you know, a little bit more in the traditional sense of lunging, where you're standing in the middle and kind of, in essence, chasing her around you, you can kind of start to impart a little bit of tension in that, of course without meaning to, but if you can get to where she starts to move and bend the body side to side, contract the right side of the ribs, expand the left side, vice versa, move the hindquarters, move the shoulders, or using something at the tools where she starts to think and put some real focus into what we're doing, and then the mind comes a little quieter through these patterns, through this morning meditation, yoga, however you want to look at it. But she starts to, we don't build in that tension that we have to then try to manage a little bit. Super. We're just going to go to working the shoulders here a little bit, on a bit of like a serpentine from a distance. The left shoulder and the right shoulder. Yeah. Get a little bit of crossing of the front legs, just very little, because we're on a big circle, big bending line. Just starting to open up the chest a little bit. Nice. This end here, sometimes there's birds back there. You might be able to hear them. This end is a little spookier sometimes. And when she's in a situation that kind of bothers her a little bit, she kind of reaches her threshold and then she sort of blasts through it. So she'd, let's say that corner, she would go into the corner a little bit worried, and then her tendency would be to, just kind of be a big brave girl and kind of go as far as she could until she couldn't anymore, and then she would just kind of scoot through the corner and just like, get me out of here as quickly as you can type of thing. Good girl. Super. And so she has a little bit of a thing with the fly spray. So what I'm going to do is I'll just bring her over here. If she needs to move around, that's fine. She can move. This is just water in here, so the most she'll get is a nice cool bath out of it. Good. No, not too bad. So I'll just let her move, and I'm just going to go with her. Just going to keep spraying until she starts to, through some of the other exercises that we've done, she starts to connect this as well. So now you have, movement, sound, touch of the water. She's not really bothered by it. She's just a little uncomfortable. And then as she starts to bring her feet a little bit slower and start to manage herself a little, there's a big blink. There we go. And then I can start to spray slower and less. So I can turn the volume down on that spray. I'll go to this side. So it's not that I'm not super concerned about a lot of these things, as in spending sessions and sessions just working on fixing the fly spray thing. Because it's one of those things that if we just continue to work on it, it goes away on its own. So I'm really big on just not picking battles where it's really quite unnecessary. Good for you. Same with bridling issues sometimes. Unless it's an older horse that comes specifically, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to make it perfect when it's not really that big of a thing. And we can just, obviously if there's some real issues where they're slinging their head or trying to hit you or bite you or whatever, that's different. But overall, for a lot of those things, just kind of quietly working on them and not making a big deal out of them tends to help fix itself. Yes, good. And then if she were to really escalate in any of those moments, we have the backing up, the shushing sound, the body positioning where we can then help her find the answer. Yeah, just like that. Just like that. Yeah. Now we'll groom her a little bit with the clippers. And again, just have the rope draped in my fingers. We'll give her the opportunity here just to figure that's it. And again, I don't have to clip her pole today, so I'm not that worried about it, right? We'll just work on it. The more that she finds the answer here, relax the hair, there we go. Yeah. And again, we don't need to make it perfect, just rest. We can come back to that later on. Good girl, good. So a little bit on the sounds that I was talking about before. Shh. Back up. Shh. And backing up where she elevates a bit in the front and shifts the weight to the hind. Super good. I'll kiss to the back end for forward or for engagement of the hind leg. Yeah. Nice. And through my body positioning, just trying to indicate to her, what I'm looking for. So when I get into the ridden part or we advance in the ridden part, I'm really big on using our body in a way that indicates to them how to place their body so that they mirror what we are doing and not just going somewhere that we've pulled them to or kicked them to or made them go to. It's like we set up a position, we give an opening somewhere, and send out an invitation, and they come with us to where we're going. And then the conversation becomes, fly's bugging you? It's okay. Hey, let me get the fly. There you go. And then again, I'll come to the shoulder, bring the shoulder over. Then I might come to where our leg would be and ride the whole horse over once I can get a bit of conversation and control over the front and the hindquarters. If she gets a little too quick and starts to rush through my hand, I can half halt her back, so my verbal half halt. Ah, that's good. And again, just trying to go through the movements slowly so that they have some value to them, so that because she's so sharp and quick and smart, when she figures out the exercise, she can just start to, spin her hindquarters around really quick, because she knows that's the end goal, is to step over that way. But if we help her do it really slow and deliberate with that hind foot, then she opens up through the body a little bit more. She finds a little bit more that inside hind stays on the floor a little longer and carries a bit more weight. And she finds some stability in that leg. Flies are starting to come out this morning. Nice. And a little forward, sideways again. And then maybe the hindquarters, a little more flexion and bend in the body. Yeah, good. Super, and softly and slowly. Ah, yeah. So in the beginning, when she was trying to sort this out a little bit more, and she gets a little frustrated, she'll start to kind of nibble on your arm, maybe kind of bite the arm a little bit. Nothing really like malicious or with much intent, but just a frustration. That's it. Really step through the body and get some length in the body, forward, downwards. Maybe we can raise the pole up a little bit and start to introduce the feeling to her of being able to walk through the body with the elevated pole. So it's elevated in some extension in the throat latch. Beautiful. And then down again. Get that fly. Good. And then a little forward, sideways. Nice. Good girl. Then we'll switch here. And the right shoulder. That's it. And stretch down. There she just kind of nuzzled my hand a little bit. This side's a little bit more difficult. Good. Then we'll walk out. And a little right hind engagement. Slow. Yeah. Slow. That's it. And really trying to get her the feeling that she contracts the rib cage on this side. And opens up the rib cage on the outside. And starts to breathe a little bit more into that. That's it. Hard to hold your breath if you're really opening up through the ribs. Yeah. She gets a little distracted. I can then just bring her focus back to me and to the work a little bit more. Might be just a little playing on the rein. Getting one ear to flick back. Nice. Yeah. Good. And just going through both sides of the body again. There you go. Yeah, good. And again, just focusing on that slowness, the softness. Trying to do the rein back with as little hand as possible. Nice, good on you. Good on you. Yeah. Yeah, good. And just a moment to kind of reflect on that. Good. Now we start to build in a little bit of a relaxation cue, so she's standing a little bit braced in the neck, just kind of grooming her a little bit like they would groom each other up here. and letting her find that softening and dropping of the pole. So that when we're in the ridden work too, we can use that as a little connection aid. And if you're at a show somewhere and you're in the ring and she starts to get a little bothered, you can scratch her on the neck there and have her reconnect. Yeah, that's it. Took her braids out a little while ago, but I think my daughter is going to braid her in the next little bit. She likes doing that stuff with the horses. Yeah. And then, you know, in that situations like that, letting her find the release. I'm not going to really do anything. Just going to see if she'll start to figure this puzzle out a little bit. Feel the clippers up here, start to chew, lower, and we can take them away. Yeah, good. And so what I look for a lot with the horses is that we have success in what we're doing. So, you know, with the clippers there, to do it 3 or 4 times during a session, short little bits, and have it go well. Every successful time we do it, itself to being a little bit of a confidence booster and a little bit deeper understanding. Same with the ridden work. When I first started getting on them, I might get on and off them 8 or 10 times in a session, and I might only stay up there for 25, 30 seconds, a minute, you know, whatever it is. But all I'm looking for is to set them up for success. So it doesn't matter if it's short rides, short little bits here and there, or whatever you're working on, but if it goes well, then the next time will likely go well too. So good. Yep. Yes, good. And then just transferring the same types of things to a little bit of in-hand work, little flexions here, step the shoulders over, so pick up on the inside rein slightly and connect it to the shoulder, very nice. I might open the inside rein and connect it to the inside hip, to the inside hind foot, there you go, and then to the middle, yeah, and then walk out. So that she starts to follow the rein, so I can lead her a little bit with the rein from the saddle, from the riding position first, and then from in the saddle. I can turn my body into the circle, keep my feet moving, helps her keep her feet moving even if she gets stuck. Little flexion to the left, little touch on the right, and just see if she starts to soften a little bit to that. A little counter flexion maybe, step the shoulder around to the outside. Yeah. And the more I have those, nice, the more I have those verbal cues connected to her, the less I can get involved with the hands even at this stage. So I don't want the hands to become something that creates stress for her. I can position my body, bring my body into the shoulder here. Slow down. Yeah. Shoulder. Yep. Good. And sometimes you might see when she makes a turn around the hindquarters, sometimes she steps back with her inside front leg and across and out with the outside front leg. Let's see if I can explain what I mean here. Ooh. So if I were to back her up here, this left front goes back, the right front goes out, back, out, back, out. Yeah, that's a good one. So I might use that exercise sometimes depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. And then in a case like this here where I want to create a little bit more openness in the chest and a little different stretch, then I would like the left front to come forward and across. Yeah. It just sets up a little bit more towards the positioning or what we would do in a half pass type movement. Good. Or leg yield or whatever, right? But just getting a different mobility of the front leg to open up the shoulders and the chest a little bit more. I'm really, really big on being able to move the shoulders, find some mobility in the front end, some openness in the front, because I think lots of times a lot of the horses that I work with, a lot of the riders that I see, the biggest blockages come from the shoulders. And in dressage, we're always trying to get the hindquarters under more and more. But I've found that if you don't create space with the shoulder, nice, or the front end opening up and being out of the way of the hind end, it's more difficult to get the hind legs to come under. It's not that it can't be done, but I've found the horses seem to comprehend it and understand it, figure it out sooner. And sometimes that means slowing the movement down and working on the balance, not slowing it down to the degree that the horse is stuck in the sand. There still has to be the activity there and the throughness. But if you work on the balance and the understanding of what we're looking for, and the feeling that gives them, then more often than not, when you start adding a little bit more forward to it, you now go forward with some softness and some balance, and the forward becomes truly forward and not just scrambling along the sand like a crab. Yeah, good girl, good. So I'm really big on being able to connect to and move the shoulders. Good girl. Good for you, good. Yep, thank you. Yeah, good. And there she just kind of got a little bit forward, a little bit braced in my hand, so it can then use the rein back to kind of connect that thought process a little bit and have her just use that as a stepping back and a resetting type of exercise. So I haven't been on her a lot. Typically what I do, I spend a lot of time in the groundwork and really try to, one, build in the confidence, build in the understanding, but also just try to take time to build their body in a way that allows them to carry us a little bit easier when we do get on. There's many horses that you could get on probably in the first 2 or 3 days, but I personally don't find a lot of value in that, because I don't really think the horse has much of an understanding of what it is they're supposed to do. I don't have a problem with it, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. It's just not something that I typically do. Yeah, good. A little bit of activity outside there, so we'll just kind of redirect her, refocus her. So I would like to be able to get up and down on both sides with them being relaxed and standing still. Maybe I'll give her a chance to kind of move her feet here so she's a little bit better balanced pull her over. I'll move her around a little bit again. Good. I sometimes will do this from a mounting block. There she just kind of lost her balance, or lost her focus there for a moment, and then lost her balance and kind of wandered off. So just bring her around here. This is kind of why I like a Western saddle too. It's easier to kind of hang off the sides of it. And refocus her here. The horses beside the arena are moving around a little bit now. I suspect the cows are probably moving through a little bit more. Both sides, just to not really give them the understanding that there's a right and a wrong side to get on. Good. And so she's kind of too in that stage of where I patted her on the butt there. She was thinking maybe that was a cue to move forward. So we have those kind of getting into that that stage of the work now, where we need to kind of differentiate the cues, read the energy and the intention behind it a little bit more. And that's just part of the process. You know, we can have a little bit of low energy, but the intention is to move, or a little bit more intention, or we can have low intention and a little bit more energy. Like when the whip was whipping around, I didn't have the intention of having her move, but the energy was fairly high in that situation. So the more that they do, the more they start to understand. And here at this point, it's just kind of riding around, letting her feel the rider a little bit more, just wear me like a piece of tack, trying to just be as relaxed as I can, move around a little bit, let her have that feeling, and just kind of guiding a little, not really looking for trying to anything in particular, just walking around, seeing if I have an influence, if she starts to get distracted, if I can bring an ear towards me, or just kind of get that acknowledgement that we are still having a little bit of a conversation. I have no problem with horses that are aware of their surroundings and really notice things that are going on somewhere in the distance. I quite like that, because I don't want a horse that's just a robot and kind of going around mindlessly for me. But at the same time, I do like to have the understanding that we are in a conversation. So there may be something going on over there, but we're still here. So notice what's out there, that's okay, but acknowledge that I am here as well. Just letting them have the sense that they have the ability to have the awareness of things that are out there without getting kind of shut down all the time, starts to produce a horse that you have a different conversation with as you progress in the training. They're not just kind of shut down and kind of going through motions because this is what they're told to do. So the same as in the groundwork. If I want to move the left shoulder a little bit, I'm just going to pick up to the left rein slightly and connect it to the left shoulder. Bring my left leg a bit forward, nudge the shoulder there gently. I might shift my weight slightly towards the outside, and if I need to, then I would cluck a little bit so that she makes that connection and she knows that we're talking specifically to that shoulder. As we go on, I oftentimes will start to ride with a whip for the same reasons, is that I can then just touch on the shoulder, I can touch on the hindquarter, and they know exactly which body part we're looking at moving. So here I'm going to connect to the inside hind, I'm going to look to the inside hind, keep my weight on my outside seat bone as well so I don't tip, step the inside hind around, and then straighten my body and ride out. So even though she doesn't understand what all of these cues and aids mean at the moment, she starts to feel our body moving, and she starts to respond in kind to that. The other part of that is if you're on a young horse, or any horse really, but a young green horse in particular, if they feel your body moving up here, and we're not just kind of rigid and, you know, hoping to get through the ride without any wrecks, they feel us moving and they start to relax into our body a little bit more. That's not always so easy to do, but if you can, nice. Then it really helps them start to find that quietness and that softness as well. Good girl, good. Yes, good. Good. If she gets a little bit stuck somewhere, then I would just work on trying to open the shoulder up, move the front foot out to the side maybe, and then go forward from there. Good girl. Good. Yeah. Inside hind. Good for you. Also, when I'm working on the inside hind, moving it around, one thing that I talk a lot about with riders and stuff is really exaggerating. Use exaggeration to teach what you're trying to teach, and then tone it down and clean it up and tune it up later. If you think in terms of like a one rein stop, where you kind of bring the head around and disengage the hindquarters, it's a very valuable thing to have as a tool when you need it. So practice it, you know, practice it a lot when you don't. My version of the one rein stop, especially at this stage, is to lift the elbow high, look under the elbow to the inside hind, and open the inside rein. Like that, and like that. And what I find that does, instead of kind of pulling the rein back to your hip and kind of creating that bend in the body or that flexion in the neck, that oftentimes can really shorten the neck and pull the neck into the body and give them a feeling of claustrophobia and a little bit of a panic in some horses. If you're in a situation where things start to really go badly, you're probably going to default to that anyway. But if you practice it and have it working really, really well like this, and encourage the neck to stay lengthened and the body to be open, then when you do need it in a situation to kind of de-escalate something that may be happening, then your chances of it working well are a lot better. Good girl. Yeah. And then again, if she needs to move off a little bit, that's fine. We'll just kind of go into moving her body a little bit. You know, we could flex left, flex right, turn to the wall. And really just trying to ride with very little leg. My legs are actually pretty well off of her. I don't want her to have the feeling that even at this stage that we're using a lot of leg to move her. I want to keep my hips and my seat and my lower back relaxed and moving and mobile to encourage her to do the same with her hips and lower back. And I don't want to get into the mindset, even right now, that we're putting the leg on to make her go. You always hear so much of the horse in front of the leg, or, you know, use more leg. And oftentimes what that gets to be in is that the rider is squeezing so hard with the legs to get the horse to move that they have no more leg to use, and the horse is not responding anymore. That creates a little bit of a blockage in the horse. Obviously creates a blockage in the rider if you're squeezing so much with your leg that you can't move the rest of your body. So I just want that understanding of what the leg means, but I don't want to get in the mindset that I have to keep my horse in front of my leg. I would rather have my horse in front of my hips and responding to my legs, so that when I need the leg to either move the shoulder over a little bit in a half pass or a travers or flying changes or a little bit more energy in the piaffe, that I have the ability to apply that, and I have more there. I have more gas pedal available to me when and if we need it. And I can use my seat. Even at these early stages of riding, I'm trying to introduce the concept of moving to my seat and from my body. And I start to introduce that in the, you know, right in the beginning from the groundwork, and then try to build a bridge and translate and have that cross over to to the ridden work. So I can start to create a little bit of a swing in my body and have her, you know, with a swing with maybe a little bit of a kiss, bring the energy up. And you can use the kiss either very quietly, or you can draw it out and make it louder, so you can use even the kissing noise as a form of energizing. So trying not to have her, again, to where we're making her go or we're making her do something, but really trying to help her understand what it is that she's to do, and then willingly offering that up as she starts to understand it more and more. And so, like I said, at this stage for me, it's really not much about doing anything in particular. I'd like to develop a pretty decent walk, if I can, you know, a nice forward walk, a swinging walk, where I can feel the energy kind of coming through from behind the saddle, under the saddle, through her withers. Her neck starts to move back and forth. Her crest is just kind of flip-flapping back and forth. And her ears are soft, and her body language feels really nice, and she's just kind of working into a relaxed state without really even, you know, I'm not trying to make her round or use the reins to put her in a frame or whatever, right? It's just, she finds a way of working through her body that the rest of it falls into place as we go. And the quietness and the softness that she starts to develop really down deep inside allows all of this stuff, this information that we're trying to put in there, it allows all that information to sink in really deep and really take a hold. She starts to chew a lot, she's yawning, she's really, you know, she's in a pretty good place mentally where she can just let this all soak in and really have some value to her. And then we can play a little bit with the inside hind, the inside shoulder, the inside hind, the inside shoulder, and bring her around to a halt so we can practice that one rein stop idea. That's it. And just lots of time for her to kind of sit and soak and digest on all of this on a really loose rein, and working towards this kind of finish where she's just really just kind of like Zen, you know, she's very Jello-like, and just kind of, she'll go back to her pen and kind of have a nap in the sun and just let all this soak in and gel. So that's basically where we're at. Like I said, a lot of that stuff I don't do every day, but it's just a little bit of what we've touched on throughout the course of we're just finishing up the third week. I will continue working with the clippers, obviously, and just keep touching on all of that stuff until it sort of just takes care of itself. And we'll just keep going from there. But at this point, at this stage, really no concerns with her. She's very nice horse, very smart horse, intelligent, opinionated when she needs to be, and she's not afraid to tell you that if you're listening. But if you work with her, she's quite willing to try, and that's all you can really ask for. So yeah, so this is where she is. This is what she's doing, and I'll get that sent off to you. You can have a look at it, see how things are progressing from there. So, thanks.